Chattoos, Captain Jocks was bored. So incredibly, mind-numbingly bored. Space travel sounds glamorous, all nebulas and new worlds, but most of it is just empty. His only companion was a fluffy, orange Maine Coon named General Mittens, whose official title on the ship's roster was Chief Security and Morale Officer. It was a joke, of course, little bit of bureaucratic humor to keep him sane on the long haul from Earth to Kepler 186F. Mittens was currently asleep in a sunbeam, twitching his tail, dreaming of galactic mice, probably. Suddenly, a blaring alarm shattered the silence. Red lights flashed across the bridge. Proximity alert. Unidentified vessel. Jock shot up from his chair. Oh. On the main screen, a ship, all sharp angles and unsettling organic curves, was parked right off his port bow. It was small, a scout ship, but it wasn't human. A crackle came over the comms, a series of clicks and guttural hisses. The universal translator struggled for a moment before spitting out a cold, metallic voice. Surrender your vessel and cargo. Resistance is futile. Jocks's heart hammered against his ribs. First contact, and it was a pirate raid. He was a cargo hauler, not a soldier. His ship, the Wanderer, had minimal defenses. He frantically scanned his options. There were none. He was outgunned and alone. Prepare for boarding, the alien voice commanded. Jock slumped in his chair, defeated. This was it. A loud thud echoed from the air, who were cutting through. He had to do something. He opened a ship-wide comm channel, his voice shaky. Security officer to the main airlock, code red. Intruders imminent. It was a useless, desperate gesture. The only security officer was still snoozing, but the comm alert had an unintended side effect. The high-pitched squeal woke General Mittens from his nap. Nut. If there was one thing Mittens hated more than a late dinner, it was being woken up unexpectedly. With an annoyed meow, he stretched, hopped off the console, and trotted towards the source of the commotion. The airlock inside the cramped airlock, the two alien boarders, tall, insectoid beings with multiple eyes, were nearly through the inner door. Their laser cutters sliced through the final layer of metal. As the door hissed open, they raised their plasma rifles, ready to storm the ship. The first alien stepped through, its many eyes scanning for threats, and then it froze. There, in the middle of the corridor, sat a small, furry creature. It had piercing green eyes, sharp claws that were currently flexing, and it emitted a low, vibrating growl that sent shivers down the alien's exoskeleton. It was unlike any predator they had ever encountered. This must be the security officer they heard summoned. A creature of pure, concentrated fury. Jenna Mittens, seeing the two strange, tall things, did what any cat would do. He arched his back, his orange fur stood on end, and he let out a blood-curdling hiss that echoed through the metal corridor. To the aliens, whose auditory senses were extremely sensitive to high frequencies, the sound was like a psychic scream. It was a declaration of war from a being of unimaginable power. The second alien peered over its partner's shoulder. It saw the creature, the bared fangs, the promise of swift, painful death in its glowing eyes. It saw the security officer take one step forward, then another, its tail twitching like a deadly whip. This wasn't a simple cargo ship. It was a trap, guarded by a biological weapon of terrifying proportions. Without a word, the first alien scrambled backward, tripping over its own feet. Third. The second one was already halfway back to their ship. They slammed the outer airlock door, their laser cutter forgotten on the floor. On the Wanderer's bridge, Jocks watched in utter disbelief as the alien ship hastily detached and jumped to hyperspace, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. He was confused for a moment, and then he heard it. A familiar, demanding meow from the hallway. Jenna Mittens trotted onto the bridge, hopped onto the console, and began rubbing his face against Jox's hand, purring loudly. Jox just stared at him, then back at the empty space where the pirate ship had been. He started to laugh, a deep belly laugh that filled the quiet bridge. He scooped up the purring cat. "Well, Jennery," he said, scratching him behind the ears, "I think you've earned a promotion. And all the tuna you can eat?" From that day on, every ship in the fleet heard the legend of the fearsome security officer on the Wanderer creature so terrifying it could scare off a pirate raid with a single glance.